On June 2, 2023, the American Civil War Museum revealed a new exhibit named Beyond Valor, United States Colored Troops and the Fight for Freedom. This multimedia exhibit aims to honor the bravery and resilience of the United States Colored Troops and highlight our partnership with the Cameron Art Museum. The exhibit showcases unique artifacts from the ACWM collection that have never been seen before.
I am Lexi Hunt. I'm the collections manager here at American Civil War Museum, and I've been here for about a year and a half. For Beyond Valor, I was the co-curator. I wrote the label copy and also organized the installation process. Honestly, the hardest part, the biggest challenge would be us, all four of us, trying to install the vinyl, the vinyl backdrop, but it was actually kind of fun, so.
I'm Robert Hancock. I'm the Senior Curator and Director of the Collections Department here at the American Civil War Museum, and I've been working with the collection about 33 years. So this little pop-up exhibit, even though pop-up exhibit's really not a very good description, it's small and it's temporary, but the impact is that we were able to tell a little bit more of a story that may not fit into the main exhibit well. Three-dimensional artifacts for the USCT regiments are pretty rare, so they're not a whole lot out there. So much of what we have is paper-based, like the muster rolls.
Our collections database has been around a long time, and there have been many collections managers and registrars before me who may use different terms for different the same object. And so you have to kind of be creative in your choice of words when you are trying to search for a certain object.
So it has to have a very strong family history behind it or something to indicate that it was actually used by a soldier in a USCT regiment. When it comes to dealing with descendants of a soldier, whether it's white or black, it generally comes to the museum in one direction. It's a family who has an artifact or a letter or a diary that they're going to donate to the collection. Sometimes they've done a lot of research, some it's just stories that have been passed down, but it's all important.
One of the muster rolls that we have in this exhibition, there are two privates that are presumed prisoners after the Battle of the Crater, and that is intriguing because it's known that there were no USCT prisoners after this battle. They were all killed once captured, so it is a mystery we may never be able to solve.
With paper objects, it's a little bit easier. For instance, we have letters in our collection written by soldiers in the USCT regiment, and they very conveniently put at the very top their name and the regiment they served in before they said, dear mother, at the end of it. So we have a clear indication of who this was and what unit he served.
Historians are tasked with incorporating numerous resources, from census and military records to artifact databases, all to find their connection to the larger story.
We are fortunate when we were doing the research for this project, we discovered we had more things related to this battle at Forks Road than we thought we did.
One thing that we weren't able to include in this mini exhibit was this section of the Weldon Railroad. The Weldon Railroad was, the physical connection between Wilmington and Richmond.
Wilmington was an important port for the importation of blockade-run goods in the Confederacy, and they were bringing in anything and everything, especially weapons, gunpowder, lead to make bullets was all coming in through Wilmington's ports. A lot of that was being shipped up to the capital in Richmond. Beyond that, it can get a little bit more difficult, especially if you want to go to that particular soldier's ancestry, his parents or his grandparents, because then, of course, you're dealing with the antebellum period before the war, and many of these men who served were either former slaves, or their parents were slaves, or their grandparents were slaves. Doing research on the USCTs can prove a challenge sometimes. If you're looking for individual soldiers, however, the compiled service records can be accessed through Ancestry.com or Fold3.com. You know, again, you start doing a little bit of research and suddenly you want to know a little bit more. So it is important. It's almost two areas of research. There's the artifacts when they come in, which is what a curator does, which is what I do. And then there is more of the historian or academic end, where they're starting with the name and then tracing it back.
First, we took a look at our database and searched for objects related to regiments of the USCT that fought at the Battle of Forks Road. And then from there, we used photographs in our collection of USCT soldiers and paired them with objects in our collection that would illustrate something that they would have carried as a soldier.
For those of us who do care about all that kind of little minutia, when you start adding that up, you start to get a more complete picture of what these people were like. I mean, when you look at a battle and you look at a map and it's got little blue lines and red lines on it, it doesn't mean a whole lot. It'll tell you where this regiment was and where they marched and who had to retreat and who won. And that's pretty much the end of it. That's all very academic and very interesting in and of itself, but what about the guy in the blue uniform who's down in that little blue line somewhere? What is he thinking about? We have a better insight of what it was like beyond that blue line marching across the field, of what these guys were actually seeing and thinking and doing during this particular event. So it's, again, it all kind of wraps in to this collection of information, no matter how small, to build a bigger picture. To either an individual or something big as large as just the war itself, to get an individual's opinion. Well, was his opinion the only opinion? Was he the only person who felt this way? Probably not.